Mercedes Moné has arrived in All Elite Wrestling, making her AEW debut at the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts at AEW Big Business. And there were some WWE talent who were there live in attendance at an AEW show. There's a whole lot to talk about. I'm going to tell you everything we know so far about all of this. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Okay, so obviously Mercedes Moné made her AEW debut in an emphatic fashion at Wednesday Night Dynamite last night. It was, being there live, one of the most raucous crowds I've been in. I think that people were obviously excited. There was just something in the air. Like, leading up to the event, there was something in the air. When you were coming to it, like, you knew that you were about to be part of history. And we were. Because one of the biggest free agents in professional wrestling history, in Mercedes Moné, has signed with AEW. And she not only signed with AEW, but one of the first things that she said, and I don't know whether or not this was an intentional like nod to the CM Punk promo when he first came to AEW, but it was, "I'm home." And you could tell in her opening promo that coming to AEW and choosing to come to AEW was a big decision for her, but it's one that she's not only at peace with, but I think one she's excited about. There was a new hint of excitement in the air, not only for AEW, but you could see it on Mercedes. Like, she had been doing stuff in New Japan. She had been very, like, kicking ass, honestly, in New Japan over the past year. However, we really saw this. Like, this was the first time that I, like, saw this, like, charisma and this, you know, this almost like glimmer in her eye. Like, I'm doing something big that's making a direct impact on mainstream professional wrestling again. And I think, like, having that feeling, like, that's part of restoring the feeling for AEW as well. So that was great to see. And on top of that, you know, I mean, Mercedes, like, coming out, getting the ovation that she had. I love the CEO chants that are now part of her theme song. I think that's a very clever way to try to get interaction from fans and also keep her over. And, like, honestly, it's a great song. So highly recommend you guys go check that out. But debut was amazing. They're obviously kind of playing off the Willow Nightingale stuff because, remember, Willow was the person who Mercedes got injured in that match against. So they're going to be playing off of that for a bit. But obviously, like, a lot of people are kind of wondering, like, you know, what happened here? How did we get to the point where Mercedes Moné ended up in AEW? Well, according to FightfulSelect.com, Sean Ross Sapp and Company just put out a massive report kind of compiling stories that had been out there for the past number of months. And they did a good job of, like, really combining them into this well thought out and well written out piece. Highly recommend you guys go check that out at FightfulSelect.com. But basically, the rundown is that there had been talks between AEW and Mercedes going back to last year. And that's part of the reason when she got injured, you know, they wanted her to be a part of All In, and she was invited as a guest. And it was with the understanding that, you know, whenever she would be healthy, that they would do business together. Like, there would be some sort of, like, relationship there. And I think in the long run, in my view, I think that All In appearance did a lot to, you know, help build that relationship. Because in a way, Mercedes, even though she was injured, she got to be a part of history. She was on the biggest wrestling show of all time, or whatever it was billed as the biggest wrestling show of all time. And then, obviously, like, her injury and was kind of touch and go there for a bit. There was, like, this interview she gave recently where she said that she wasn't sure if she would come back to professional wrestling, and that's what doctors told her. But obviously, she's back now. At some point in December, we do know that, you know, she had began talking to WWE again, and there were talks held, and they fell apart. And after those talks fell apart, it was very quickly apparent to people in WWE and people in AEW that the most likely landing spot for Mercedes was, in fact, All Elite Wrestling. And one of the things that was highlighted in the report as well is, like, Tony Khan. Tony Khan wanted to make sure that if Mercedes was going to be there, that it wasn't just her coming out in the walking boot, and it wasn't her coming out, like selling the injury. He wanted Mercedes Moné to come out there ready to go, so that they could deliver immediately on things, so that like people didn't have to wait. And I think like that was the right decision in the long run, because now people are excited. Whether you have her debut, or in-ring debut, I should say, at a Dynamite, or you have it at Dynasty in a few weeks, it's close enough where, you can build up that anticipation, but also deliver on it in an impactful way, like soon. So I think that was definitely part of the calculus here in debuting her when they did. And then obviously, like, you have the big reason, let's be honest here. The big reason this is all happening is because, like, she left WWE, and I think that, and this is just me here, I think, like, with everyone who leaves WWE, there is, like, a bit of that, what would I look like outside of WWE? And kind of betting on yourself. And you would think that there was a little bit of that too. And she's one of the most confident professional wrestlers there is. Mercedes Moné is one of the most confident professional wrestlers in the world when it comes to owning who she is, owning her brand, and owning the fact that she is one of the best. And the way she walked out on Dynamite, you could tell 100% everything that she was doing, she owned the hell out of it. And it was just amazing. Going back to kind of the timeline of events, the other part was like the Royal Rumble was like a big turning point too. Like the report kind of highlights how at the Royal Rumble, like, Fightful was asking like, hey, is Mercedes going to be here? And kind of like the sentiment around that time was, from WWE at least, was, well, we don't want to be involved in contract tampering. Which at that point everyone kind of knew that Mercedes was headed to AEW. And lo and behold, they announced big business. And at that point it was foregone conclusion that Mercedes was going to AEW. And I think that this has been a long time in the making. And one of those things that, like, people want to talk about, like, oh my God, the news media got it wrong. The wrestling, the dirt sheets got it wrong multiple times. Like, we don't know what to believe. I think one of the things that's overlooked in all of this is the fact that these things are fluid. These conversations are happening in real time. And people like to point out how, like, news used to be, like, they used to be more accurate. I'd argue that a lot of well, not a lot, but, like, credible wrestling sites, which I believe Fightful is one of them, they do report things in real time as they happen, which causes things to be more fluid. They fluctuate. And why is that? Because conversations happen all the time. Conversations happen that change the entire tone of stories, that change the entire direction of stories. CM Punk wasn't going to return at Survivor Series until he was going to. Mercedes Moné was not going to debut, switch those up, for AEW until she did. And at the end of the day, I think Fightful's reporting got it right. And, it's a testament to Sean Ross Sapp's, testament to, like, everyone over there. So big shout out to them. But, I mean, this is just... It is crazy how things came together. And either way, if she had gone back to WWE or obviously coming to AEW, it would have been a big story anyway. What I can tell you is a big story, though, is 100% the fact that there were WWE stars in attendance, in the audience at AEW Big Business. Bayley and Naomi were not only in the building for Big Business, supporting Mercedes Moné, supporting Mercedes in the crowd. They were supporting her in the crowd. You can see, like, someone online made a really funny joke that, like, Bayley has her iPad out like a grandma at a graduation, like absolutely losing her mind at like the accomplishment that her that her like grandchild is making. And I was like, that's so on brand, because like you can see Bayley here in this picture captured by a fan at the event. She's like recording with her iPad. You can see Naomi. She's like recording with her phone. I mean, that's dope. It's dope. I love the fact that, we're in a time in professional wrestling where like friends can support friends. And it doesn't matter if it's for a different company. It doesn't matter. Like, they're just out there supporting friends. That's really cool. Because it felt like not too long ago, we were at a place where like, I forgot who it was. It was one of the Highlanders. Like, I think it was like back in 2008, 2009. They went to a TNA show, and TNA made the brilliant decision of putting them on TV. And, obviously right after that, they were kind of like suspended and then like later fired. And we have come so far from that, right? Because now, like, you have talent going backstage. You have talent like literally sitting in the crowd. That's crazy. And obviously, they were in a section that was like, I think tarped off or whatever, or like, or just sectioned off so that like people wouldn't bother them. But like, it is so cool that is like something that can happen, because a few years ago it wouldn't have. And shows you like slowly, very slowly but surely, wrestling is becoming better. Now, do I think WWE and AEW are going to be working together on the Super Show anytime soon? Hell no. It would be great if they did. It would be fantastic for pro wrestling if they did. I don't see it happening, but, this is slight progress. And again, I just love the fact that these three have supported each other like steadfastly through everything that's happened over the past 2 years. People going to different companies, people walking out, people making decisions that they needed to make. I love the fact that through all of it, their friendship persevered and got stronger, it looks like. That's really cool to me. So, shout out to wrestling for being beautiful once again. Shout out to Mercedes for making her AEW debut. Shout out to all of you watching. Be sure to leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought of AEW Big Business, Mercedes' debut, all of the wonderful news that I just gave y'all here. Be sure to smash that like button too, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.